Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Natasha Kanyaru and I'm joined by my friend and colleague Brian Onyango. So today we are going to look at the sources of law. That's basically where we find our laws. Hope you enjoy.
It is important to understand the sources of law because by so understanding you'll be able to know where to find the law dealing with various issues, for example politics and business. And we'll also be able to understand which law actually applies in Kenya as a country. And finally, we will be able to know where to go to when you want to find such laws.
The major sources of law in Kenya are the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the Acts of Parliament, also known as Statutes, the county legislation, also known as bylaws, and also judicial decisions, also known as case law.
Yes, and also to complement that, the other sources of law we have is religious law. For example, we have the Islamic law and the Hindu law. Another source is also the African customary law, the ways of living of Africans. And finally, by virtue of Article 2.5 and 2.6 of the Constitution of Kenya, international law.
The other sources of law are doctrines of equity, English statutes of general application, English common law.
Yes, and finally we also have as our source of law the general procedures of English courts. But all these four sources must satisfy three conditions. That number one, they must not be repugnant to justice and morality. Number two, they must not apply to the extent that other written law apply. And finally, they must have been existent by 12th August 1897. That is basically when Kenya became a British protectorate.
Just to elaborate on a few sources, we'll start with the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Yes, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 was promulgated on 27th of August 2010 at about 10 a.m.
Wow.
Yes, this constitution is the supreme law of the land and its validity cannot be put into question. Yes. It cannot be challenged in any court of law. The Constitution of Kenya is divided into articles, chapters and schedules. It has actually 18 chapters, 264 articles and 6 schedules.
Wow. We also have Acts of Parliament, also known as statutes, also known as legislation. We have over 800 Acts of Parliament. Examples of legislation that we have is the Sexual Offences Act, the Employment Act. We also have the Architects and Quantity Surveyors Act. We also have a Witchcraft Act. There is also county legislation, also known as bylaws. Each of the 47 counties in Kenya have their own bylaws.
African customary law also form part of our Kenyan law. This is because Kenya as a nation is an African nation. It's mostly inhabited by Africans. So the ways of life of Africans form part of our laws. But this source of law must satisfy two major conditions. That number one, it must not be repugnant to justice and morality. And number two, it must have been existent
since time immemorial.
Thank you.
So where do you find these laws? The most reliable internet source is www.kenyalaw.org. It contains the most recent and revised editions of different laws. It also contains bills. You can actually track bills of parliament on that site. It also contains county legislation or bylaws of the different 47 counties. It also contains international law that apply to Kenya by virtue of Article 2.5 and 2.6 of the Constitution of Kenya. And lastly?
Yes, lastly we can, as a source of law, we can find them in the English law reports. These are for English cases. The Kenya law reports, they are actually law reports for Kenya. For religious law, we can find them in the Quran and in the Bible. And finally, most of our African customs or customary law are codified into our law books.
I guess that's it. Thank you, Brian, for joining me. And thank you for watching. See you next time.